Hello and welcome to this short little video about the relationship between compliance and elastance. This can be pretty crucial when we're talking about simple things like the ease of breathing in or the ease of breathing out. And when we start talking about putting people on life support, that's when we're just going to start talking about compliance versus elastance in that relationship as well. So let's get started. Alright, when we're looking at elastance and we're looking at compliance, they're very similar in effect, but they're different here. One describes, which is elastance, how quickly something snaps back. If you have a heavy rubber band and you pull it out really far, it's going to snap back really quickly. If I do a very light, very stretched out rubber band, I pull out really far, it's not going to snap back nearly as quickly. So elastance is looking at the closure or the collapse of an object, when compliance is looking at how easy is the object to stretch in the first place. So one is snap back, and that's elastance. How elastic is that? Just like a sweater having elastic with it, how fast and how quickly it snaps back. The quicker it snaps back, the more elastic it is. The less it snaps back, the less elastic it is. Compliance is the opposite. They're in an inverse relationship. If you have really high compliance, that means it's really easy to stretch something. Just like a balloon that's easy to blow up. It's really easy to stretch. Are there balloons that are very hard to stretch? Yeah, absolutely. Where you blow really hard into there and they're hard to stretch. And that's compliance. Compliance is how hard is it or how easy is it to stretch. If you have high compliance, it's very easy to stretch. If you have low compliance, it's very hard to stretch. So elastance, how quickly it snaps back. Compliance, how easy is it to stretch or how hard is it to stretch? What does this mean for us in the respiratory therapy world? Well, if you have an increase in elastance, this could be things due to abdomen pressure, right? Think third trimester of pregnancy. What happens with abdomen pressure? It increases, and it can push up and restrict the lungs from expanding. And that would mean an increase in elastance. In other words, the lungs will collapse a lot faster when someone exhales. Chest wall issues. If someone has an issue with the kyphoscoliosis, what happens with the volume of the thoracic cage decreases, right? And so what happens is the lungs won't be able to expand as much. They'll be more elastic. They'll snap back. They'll collapse easier. If there's a pleural space issue, like a fluid buildup in the space in between the lung and the chest wall, if there's that fluid buildup in there, it's going to add weight and restrict the lung from expanding and therefore make the lungs highly elastic. Everything's going to want to collapse faster. Same thing if we have scarred lung tissue, right? If we have issues with scarred lung tissue, with people that have different types of pulmonary fibrosis, things like that, where the tissue is just so stiff, it's going to expand a little bit when you inhale, but when you exhale, man, it will snap back quickly. The other thing that we can think about here is fluid buildup in the lungs. If we have something like pulmonary edema, which is fluid building up in the lungs are going to gain a lot of weight, and yeah, they'll expand, but they're going to snap back and they're going to collapse really easily. So that's all describing an increase in elastance. That means they're going to snap closed really easily. These lungs are very prone to collapsing. And we call that fancy word atelectasis, right? They're very prone to atelectasis. It's going to be harder to get oxygen in and CO2 out. It's going to be harder to breathe. They're going to work harder. Just like imagine a weight vest on you, it's going to be a lot harder to breathe. Now, compliance, an increase in compliance means, hey, something happened to help the lungs expand. It's made it easier to expand. So something like repositioning the patient where their abdomen's no longer sitting on their chest wall. Or we're treating that pleural effusion. We're draining that fluid off of the outside of the lung so that way the lungs can expand easier. Or we're taking the pressure off the abdomen. We're draining some extra fluid that's hanging out in the abdomen. Or let's say there's a chest wall issue that we're relieving and pulling that off of the patient. What if there's something like fluid buildup in the lungs and we're treating that with medications to help get fluid off of the human body? If we're doing that, then the lungs are going to expand a lot easier. So we're looking at expansion for compliance. Elastance, we're looking at collapse. And so this is going to make it a lot easier to expand if you have increased compliance. And then other things that can cause an increase in compliance, and this is what we're looking at, is emphysema. And you see all these holes in this lung picture here. Emphysema destroys a lot of tissue in the lung, so it decreases elastance because you're destroying tissue, and therefore you're going to have an increase in compliance. So the lungs are going to be very easy to stretch, but they're not going to close very easily, and this can make it hard for these people to breathe. So when we're looking at compliance, how easy it is for something to stretch, elastance is how quickly it snaps back, and they have an inverse relationship. If I have really high, stretched out, floppy, compliant lungs, I'm going to have very low elastance. If I have very stiff, scarred lungs, I'm going to have high elastance and low compliance. All right, that's it for now. Thank you for listening.